Ever wonder how a breakthrough idea actually becomes reality? Hi, I'm Susan Lindner, and this is the Innovation Storytellers Show, where I sit down with the change makers behind the world's most inspiring innovations to learn how they did it and the stories that help them make it happen. If you've ever had a big idea or want to tell yours in a more powerfully connected way, you're in the right place. I promise you'll get new ideas for how to tell a better story to your audiences too. So let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Susan Lindner, your host of the Innovation Storyteller Show. And today I'm reporting live from TechBBQ. Right now, there are 10,000 Nordic entrepreneurs, investors, large corporates who are here trying to figure out the greatest innovations that are taking place in the Nordics. Not only are they finding them, they are building them. And that's why I'm so excited in this special pocket series of the Innovation Storyteller Show called Nordic Visionaries. I'm interviewing another Nordic visionary today, Magnus Egeberg. And a little bit about Magnus before we dive into this conversation. Magnus is the CEO of Mastercard Payment Services, heading up Mastercard's Nordic account business that delivers services to 5 countries here in the Nordics. Prior to joining Mastercard, Magnus had a variety of leadership roles at Nets across business and technology. And before that, he did 8 long years at Capgemini as a management consultant. Congratulations.
Thank you
surviving
for the 8
that.
years.
I feel like you could, cut yourself open and just count the rings inside.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So we're going to be talking about all things fintech, finance, and payments, because it's something that impacts all of us today. Magnus, tell us a little bit about how you got here, because not everybody walks in through the front door of Mastercard and becomes CEO of payments for the Nordics.
Payments, yeah.
Yeah. How did you get here?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me.
Welcome.
It's a real pleasure. No, so as you said, I did 8 years of consulting, and then I decided I wanted to get a real job.
It's bad.
And I looked for, what's that next journey? What's that next vision? What is it that I want to join? And I found this payments company called Nets in Norway. It was Norwegian and Danish. And I loved their vision. They wanted to take this company and make a European payments giant out of it. So I figured with my technical background, this is one of those businesses that has technology at its core. Mm-hmm. I also wanted to do a pivot in my career, moving from technology type roles into a business role. And I figured this industry, that switch is probably easier than in some of the other industries that could be, attractive. So I walked in the door of Nets, a cold January morning of 2014. I took a job that was leading up IT strategy and enterprise architecture for the CIO. And I was really excited about that path ahead. And it literally took 4 hours until I was in a call with Goldman Sachs talking about selling this company. So
that is
really
a great
delivered.
First day, Magnus. That is brutal. A great first day of work.
I didn't even have a computer. So no, it was really delivering on that vision. So the company was then sold that summer to private equity. We IPO'd after 2 years. So really a massive transformation over those 2 years. I then decided to take some months off. I went to Harvard Business School to learn some of the things I thought I knew, but just to understand, do I have it right in terms of the finances, in terms of the leadership, in terms of, a lot of the aspects.
So you took time off to go to Harvard?
The company was very generous. They sponsored me to go there to learn. So I was really, really happy for that. And then I returned full of energy, took a business role where I took our open banking proposition from idea to market. And then I started having kids. So I took different types of roles depending on where I was. Was I
diaper changer,
Exactly.
bottle warmer?
Then I couldn't really work on, the most intense parts of the business during those times. So I was a little bit in and out of various strategy roles or business roles. So was it back in 2019? We then decided that we were going to sell parts of the business to Mastercard. So the deal was announced that summer. Took 18 months to close. So in 2021, we became part of Mastercard, representing actually the biggest acquisition Mastercard has done ever.
So it was easier to go public than it was to get acquired by Mastercard. Is that what I'm understanding?
Not because of Mastercard, but clearly we were a leading business in certain segments, and Mastercard as well. So the commission wanted to have their opinions in terms of that deal. So it took some time. We got to where we wanted to be, and we became kind of luckily partners then, and we became part of the family in 2021.
That's amazing, considering, right? You have regulatory issues, you have all different things that get you to that position.
And as with many carve-outs, you end up having kind of a fixed timeline then to integrate into the new home. So we had 4 years to move literally the financial infrastructure of these countries into new data centers. We didn't have those data centers. We didn't have the people who were supposed to monitor the systems. We didn't have the people who were going to pick up the phone. So massive transformation of critical national infrastructure in these countries. I mean, we process roughly $11-12 trillion annually.
Amazing.
So the U.S. Fed budget is at $6-7 trillion. So, the amount of money that we move is enormous. So you don't have a second chance. We need to get it right the first time. And I'm glad we, this summer, completed all aspects of kind of that integration successfully. And we're now fully operational in Mastercard, enhanced security, resilience, and all of the things that our brand promise brings.
So as the cool new startup in town, right? As the cool kids on the block at Mastercard, what are some of the fascinating, innovative things that you are bringing with you or that you're in charge of now?
So what we offer is what we call account-to-account payments. What does that really mean? So unless, so it's not paying with your card. It means that you transfer the money between one bank account directly to another. So one of the things we do is we calculate what does every bank owe each other at the end of the day. So all transactions, so how much money does this bank owe to this if we net it all out? We keep track of all of that. So that's some of the things we do. We do that both for batch payments and real-time payments. So it's really a critical component of not just consumer payments, but also business-to-business payments in these countries.
So that is the backbone of the B2B economy.
That is the backbone of the financial infrastructure in these countries, yes.
Yeah, fantastic. So can we expect new things coming from Mastercard in the near future?
So I'm really proud that also during this major transition, we were able to innovate. So we were able to enter into e-com with our invoicing solutions. We were able to launch some new products. And even tomorrow, I'm really glad to say that we're launching a new partnership with a legal software provider. So one of the things we want to enter into is embedded finance.
What is that?
So yeah, it sounds exciting, or does it sound strange? What it is we want to make sure that finance processes gets embedded into the workflow of professionals. So over the past decades, we've offered a lot more convenience in your daily life in terms of payments. We want to take that to when you go to work. The same type of innovation happened there. Embedded finance is one way of solving for that. And tomorrow then we're launching this partnership with Legala, who's a software vendor based out of Norway, that then will integrate payment and account information into the workflow of their lawyers, so that when they're dealing with bankruptcies, they can stay in their workflows, get all the data on these companies and entities and estates to drive it much more efficiently, the type of work they do. So that's one example of where we embed payments into workflows. We also do that in healthcare and all other verticals.
That's very exciting. Now I can tell my attorney that when he charges me for a photocopy, but it's really an Adobe PDF, that the embedded finance of my invoice is going to take care of that. Fantastic.
You can have a better day, a much easier day.
How are they still charging me for photocopies when I get a PDF? How is this happening?
No, let him talk to us.
I'm really intrigued by the whole cybersecurity front. Full disclosure, I invest in a cybersecurity startup on my own. I've been fascinated by this since I worked in a PR capacity for a coalition of hackers called At Stake. They were white hat hackers. Right. We called them during Internet 1.0, and they helped large enterprises find the holes in their enterprise in order to patch them.
Yeah.
And they also decided that if large companies didn't patch them, they would out all the holes to the rest of the market and said, now fix it.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting group of suits and hackers, former IBM guys who got together with a group of hackers to make that work. But so let's talk a little bit about cyber at the moment, because I know that my audience of innovators, cybersecurity might not be top of mind for them as they're building cool new products and services.
Yeah.
What kind of insights could you give about how to integrate cyber into the innovation process? When should a chief innovation officer begin thinking about cyber, especially if they're acquiring startups, which is a huge part of the innovation pipeline in the corporate world?
Yeah. So the way we do it is that cyber resilience, all those things is part of our DNA.
Yeah.
It's the core of our business. And I think in many ways, if you're in our industry, you have the benefit of that has actually been the case for quite some time. So we look at cyber as a competitive edge.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not going to be successful in this industry, I think, if you don't have cyber integrated as part of what you do. You might get a product to market or to market test faster without cyber, but it's not going to scale. It's not going to go global if it isn't resilient and secure.
So sorry, is that at the MVP level? So I'm putting together a pilot and I need to think about cyber as part of the fundamental building blocks, even of my MVP in the first 3 months? You do?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have a formal process. We call it the studio process in terms of how we develop new products.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure many companies have similar processes.
So is that like the innovation arm of Mastercard Payments?
So that's more in Mastercard globally. We have this process staged to kind of make sure that everything we push through a pipeline of innovation lives up to the brand commitment, and that means it needs to be compliant to, whatever regulatory aspects it needs to deliver on. It needs to make sure that we collect, store data like we should and commit to the customers. And it needs to be secure and safe. And you can do that in many ways. And part of the way you can do it smart is to design your applications in ways where you have layers of security. So for instance, should you think that the components of a product should trust each other? Or should you build it in a way where there's zero trusts? So even if you do things where you build from zero trust, it means should attackers to be successful in breaking through your first line of defense, you have multiple lines of defense through your home portfolio of services. And that's the way we try to think about it, that every aspect of things we do should have cyber and resilience and security a core part of how we design it. We train our developers in secure coding. I see it as a competitive edge in terms of attracting talent. Like they actually become better developers by joining us because they learn how to do that in a good way. We teach them and share intel from what's happening in the threat landscape. So what we do is we collect global threat intelligence. We drill that down to regional threat intelligence where you operate. And for us in the Nordics, we then boil that down to what's the threat landscape here in the Nordics and specifically here or Denmark. We share that with the developers so that they see that what they do, what they might feel hold them back is super relevant because this is a race game, right?
Yeah.
The hackers, the cyber criminals.
They just need one way in, right?
Yeah,
they just need to get around one time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So some of the complexities that you also find, and I think you alluded to it, is of course then, what about the partners? What about the companies you might invest in? And what about the companies that you might acquire and want to integrate, right? Do you force your mechanisms on top of them?
Heck yes. Yes, we do. No. I mean, we have to find a way to work with them, but that's what being a partner becomes, right? You have to create this relevant ecosystem where all your core values, but you tell me, how do you do it? I want to say yes, but it's not like you can get these battleships to turn like a speedboat.
No, but on security, you have to say that's such a core part of what you do.
Yeah.
It's such a core part of the brand promise that you can't deviate away from it. Mm-hmm. A lot of things you can, be flexible on, but if it's branded by us, if it's supported by us, then it just needs to be safe and secure.
Well, who doesn't want access to an $11 trillion ecosystem that Mastercard offers, right? I heard you say in your panel that you spend around $11 billion in in cyber investments too.
Since 2018, we have, as a group, we have invested roughly $11 billion in this, and for multiple reasons. One, we believe it's an attractive space to be in. As Mastercard, we have multiple pillars of the company that we drive, our traditional cards business being one of them. Services, and in this area, cyber services is another pillar of the company. And then we're doing also commercial payments of not only the consumer space, but also in the B2B space. So we have multiple kind of diversification sides of the company, and cyber is one of them. Hence, we have also invested a lot. But also the brand promise itself. Like when you go and pay and you see those two circles, I hope the first thing you think about is it should be safe and secure.
It's usually, I got to pay that bill. That's usually the first thing that comes to mind, but definitely after that, it's.
You should feel comfortable that I know when I tap this card or I pay, when I see that brand, it's secure, it's taken care of.
In fact, I don't even have to think about it, which is probably the best thing.
Exactly.
So this $11 billion in investment. Most of my listeners I know have been part of the startup acquisition, on either side of that equation. How much of that budget is allocated, towards some of the fintech acquisitions that you've done or the cyber tech acquisitions that you've done?
Yeah, so I'm not going to share the detailed numbers, but we've done some major acquisitions in the space.
What are you most proud of?
So, of course, our acquisition I'm very proud of, but that is not in the cyberspace.
Yeah. One
of the most recent ones was Recorded Future. Also one company, world leading in cyber, that's based out of the Nordics. So what I see is that in the Nordics, we have at least captured our fair share of Mastercard investments in cyber and in innovation in the space. And I think it comes back to this being a very highly digitized society. So we have less than 2% cash. This is really
we were talking about this before we started recording. I have not seen physical money since I arrived here 2 days ago.
No.
I have not seen cash in my periphery going to buy a roll and cheese.
No, I can't remember the last time I held a bill in my hand.
It's just dirty, right? Screw it. It's just credit cards from here on out.
Yeah. No, so I think that speaks to also what kind of role this part of the world can play. Being so highly digitized, how can we drive then the agenda of resiliency in a digitized society in the world that we live in? So we've been attending a lot of political weeks where society comes together with politicians, corporates, NGOs, both in Denmark and Norway recently, and this feels a lot. Like as a group of countries in a highly digitized region, how do we think about resilience, not just for payments, but for utilities, for telcos, for other kind of parts of society?
It's curious, right? Because I think most of my senators don't know how to use their online bank account, much less Facebook, but when you come here, even generationally, you just feel like just boarding the train, there's a high comfort level with buying your tickets this way, right? Just getting on the metro, or the familiarity with this digital divide. It feels like the Nordics have done a really good job of erasing that digital divide across generations.
I think we at least have done a good job in trying to make it small. What we also come to realize is that there is a part of the population that probably won't go digital. And our reflections probably 5 years back was that would disappear. I think we see that as you grow older, your ability to stay up to date on the most recent innovations becomes a challenge. So that's something we're looking into now.
I haven't conquered Snapchat yet. I'm not ready.
No,
I'm not going there, just for the record.
No. So, but how do we cater for that part of the society if it's actually always going to be there, that they struggle to stay on top of the latest developments? And it's something we see in Denmark, in Norway, and also in other markets. But I definitely agree that the ability to adapt new technologies is highly present in these markets.
So when you look out from a payments infrastructure, when you're looking at large corporations and some of the challenges that they're facing, what should my listeners be thinking about in terms of protecting their assets, protecting their financial supply chain? What should we be thinking about?
There's multiple aspects of how to think about it. I think a core fundament in in cyber and security is knowing where your data is and what kind of data do you have. So you don't want to be trying to understand that the moment you see that you have a threat that's been exploited. Like, you need to be on top of that from the get-go. And then I think there's multiple layers of things you could do. So one is to implement, of course, cyber technology to make sure that you can counter attacks and be on top of what's happening. Threat intelligence, so that you understand what's actually what does the threat landscape look like? Who are the actors? Are they currently active in my region, or are they active in other parts of the world? So that helps you to focus.
Are there really hackers here in the Nordics? Everyone seems so nice.
Well, there are also here. In the digital world means you can sit anywhere in the world and participate, right? So, but really understanding what does the landscape look like here that we operate. And then it's about also training for what happens if it goes wrong. So that's one of the things we do. So just before we left for the summer holiday, we had an exercise.
Wait, what's that? A summer holiday?
Yeah, so that's a concept we maybe have in the Nordics.
Huh.
You're not that familiar,
Summer
huh?
holiday. Sounds lovely. I'd
Yeah,
love
it was
to have
brilliant.
one of those. It sounds
Yeah,
great.
and this year it was
I
even
got
good
COVID
weather.
instead. That's what I got for the month of July.
Yeah.
But the summer holiday thing, maybe I'll try it next year.
Yeah. So what happens is you actually stop working. Right? Doesn't
What?
sound good. Yeah.
What?
So what do you spend your time on? So you could either spend your time worrying about what's happening at work. Am I being attacked?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Or like we did this summer. So just before we left for the holidays, we did a major cyber resiliency exercise, bringing tens of people together, and just hammering out, what do we do? How do we respond if something goes wrong? Because you want to make sure that you're able to bring together the right people to understand the situation, to trigger the right groups in your company, to start engaging with potentially the regulators, to start engaging with peers in the industry. So all of that, you need to test, you need to run, you need to exercise so that you are also prepared in the events should something go wrong.
So you need a hackathon and a recovery-thon.
That's right.
To go back.
Yeah,
to
recovery
go
thought.
back.
I like that. Yeah. Because it's a big difference, right? If you are down and able to recover really, really fast, or whether or not you have days and weeks where you are not able to recover. So you want to make sure that you also plan for the unlikely and are able to come up really, really quickly.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the regulatory environment for you guys here in the Nordics is far steeper than it is in the United States. Is that accurate?
Yes. So here in the Nordics, our business is directly regulated. So that comes with a lot of oversight. It comes with commitments in terms of how we run the company, how we operate, what we share, our obligations to report. So a lot of things like that, in terms of our ability to oversee our third-party vendors. So we have a very close and good collaboration with the regulators, but it means that they also have full visibility of what we do, and that their opinion means a lot, right? So for our case, it meant that we built new data centers in the Nordics to cater for what they wanted, what they need.
But it's so much easier to cool them down here.
That's
Isn't that right?
That's right.
You just go to Norway, put in a data center, it's
Exactly
frozen.
Yeah. So we do a lot of that. We also do in terms of corporate governance. So we've set up an independent board, or at least having independence on our board to make sure that they oversee what we do, how we manage risk, and make the right decisions in this local context. So we're very respectful in terms of living up to the requirements and desires of the regulators in those markets where we operate.
That's critical. Yeah, I think, and so many of my listeners are operating in so many different regions where the regulatory issues change and the threat level changes consistently.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you find that there is this fluctuation that maybe now AI would also prepare you for, so you can develop different threat scenarios where you're able to figure out what an all points attack, like every endpoint attacked, looks like, or?
Absolutely. So this is one of the great benefits of being part of a large group, right? You also get to learn what's happening elsewhere, but also means that you want to make sure that you understand, am I exposed should something go wrong in other parts of the world for us as a company, right? So So yes, we collaborate a lot across the group to understand threat landscape, how we implement best practices, what are the regulatory things that are on the agendas in other parts of the world that could either inspire us here or vice versa, and then we set up also then regional centers to deliver on those things that are most prevalent in a region. So for instance, last year we set up a cyber centers in Europe, 30 teams there, experts in everything they do, from threat intelligence to monitoring to technical recovery, etc. And back to this transition of being Nets and into Mastercard, that's one of the things we make then available to the Danish industry, to this country, that they can tap into all those expertise that we have as part of our regional setup, and is then connected into our global setup.
So what's the sexiest part of cybersecurity? Is it the external threats coming at you? Is figuring out where the holes are internally in your own systems? Like, what is the part where you feel more like James Bond tracking down these threats?
Oh, it's definitely understanding that threat landscape.
Yeah.
Because there's some of that terminology. That,
is it?
Yeah.
You feel like a CIA agent, MI6
exactly.
coming at
So
you.
I have my CISO, so the security officer, come and brief me on this quite regularly. And threat actors,
Do you make him wear a raincoat and sunglasses?
I should. So threat actors, state sponsored, all those words make you just realize that, wow, this is serious. This is serious
You
stuff,
should request like a daily security briefing, just like the president has,
Yeah,
like where the
exactly.
threats are coming. You're like,
Yeah.
call my CISO.
Yeah. So I'm also having the approach where if I'm not getting briefed, it means things are good. So
No news is
there's
good
a
news.
balance and act in that. Yeah.
Okay.
No, because there are constant attacks, like when it's like constant, of course there are. So a good day when nothing happens doesn't mean that there aren't anything happening. It means that we're doing a good job defending our platforms. And it's important to keep that in mind, simply because it doesn't come by itself. It means that you have committed people, skills, technology who come to work, and the job is keeping this operating, keeping it safe, making sure that you don't worry about paying.
So, this show is kind of focused on the stories that we tell internally in order to get our big ideas moving forward. What is it like having to talk to, other regions or other executives in the company about pushing cyber or pushing security when people are like, don't slow me down, I've got enough stuff to do? What is the story that you tell internally to get people on board with your agenda? How do you do it?
As a brand, as I said, security and reliability is at the DNA across the company. So we benefit from that.
Yeah.
It's a shared understanding that that just is embedded in everything we do.
So no one can say no to you? Is that what you're saying?
No, but it means that we all understand that there's different paths of getting to where you need to be, and there's different ways you can do it. But we're not going to give in on that side of things. But I think you can have great pace, but still have good security. So then we've spent now 4 years integrating and doing that massive lift in terms of moving pretty much the financial infrastructure of these countries into Mastercard. We still innovated. We still entered into the e-com space with our e-billing solutions. We still entered into embedded finance with our products. Building on Mastercard security policies and tools. So it can be done. It just needs to be done in a way where, in my experience, security is embedded from the beginning.
Yeah.
What you don't want to do is to go all the way to having a product ready and then go ask security, are you okay? I just put this out there. Both in terms of...
Have you had that experience?
I think we've all been there, where, we missed involvement from the early days on, and that slows you down.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it expensive. That makes you have to go back and redesign things.
Yeah.
So,
But it also can put you in the position of the bad guy, right? It's like, oh, here's dad saying we have to go fix our stuff again, right?
yeah.
And I hear this from folks, other Nordic Visionary guests who have talked about you have to put sustainability first, right? And the CFO is saying you have to put profitability first, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many competing priorities about it. I mean, it's wonderful that that's a core value from Jump, but what's the story that says we can't move forward unless you have this in place? Like, are there cautionary tales that you also share?
So I think, having been in this industry for 10 years, of course, there have been occasions where you have seen things goes wrong in the industry. What usually happens is that you put up the news and it's right there. You know,
Every day you can find a headline of some breach.
we all see it in the news. Should something go wrong, that it's all over, right? So, and we're all part of society, and you know that you want to pay. You don't want to be exposed to fraud, right? So it also impacts you and us who work in the company every single day, right? If we're not good on these things. So again, I think it's really making it culture, making it an understanding that this is license to operate. This gives us a competitive edge. All those things just needs to be part of how you develop products and what you bring to market.
Okay, so I have a random consumer question for you.
Okay.
Those RFID wallets, do they really protect my credit card from being scammed somewhere? Can someone just answer this?
So there's something called tokenization.
Yes.
So that's, I mean, we talked about what's good innovations. That's definitely one of them. So you are protected.
I should get one, is what you're saying. Yeah, I definitely don't have that yet. Okay, I'm now going to ask you the 3 questions I ask everyone who comes on the podcast. So question number 1 is, what is the greatest innovation of all time?
Yeah, that's a really big question.
If you tell me the credit card, I don't know what I'm going to do.
No, I was actually reflecting on this one. I think I admire people who innovate in medicine.
Mm.
And I can say that also because I was sick with cancer this winter.
Oh, wow.
It's a very tough message when father of 3 small children. When you then see what's been done in this space, I think it's mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing.
8 weeks, I was back at work. Totally fine.
Wow.
So I think
Thank
that's
goodness.
Remarkable. I mean, for me, it's a personal example of I'm being blown away by what people are innovating. So that kind of thing, working in that space, I think it's fantastic. I think what we do is fantastic as well. But there's something about kind of the impact of innovation in medicine that I think is unique.
I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about this. He was talking about the paleo diet and how we should eat and whatever. And he said, it's medicine, people.
Yeah.
He goes, that's been the game changer. He goes, people lived until age 35. And guess what? They were eating paleo because they were cavemen and they were eating only organic.
Yeah.
Because that's all there was.
Yeah.
It's medicine that has expanded our lifespan.
Okay.
And I was like, well said.
Yeah.
Okay. So step 1. Step 2, if you could join any innovation team in the course of human history, which team would you join? Because we don't believe one person innovates alone.
Yeah, gosh. So I want to bring it a little bit closer to our industries. Do you have an electric vehicle?
No, I don't.
Okay. So if you have you
I would love to.
The experience of charging it is just makes you reconsider. And I think the
because
the
it's so cool to plug your car in.
Because it's so cumbersome.
It's so
And I
cumbersome.
think the innovation around EVs that have happened over the last 10 years has been amazing. But I wish payments was just an integrated part of that experience. And I think that's something that we could have brought to that table, right? So driving, charge, drive through tolls, automatic payments. I think so. Embedded finance and getting that into better user experiences in all kinds of products, I think it's a big opportunity. And I wish I was part of one of those teams.
And that's happening in China now, right? I mean, you sit in, it scans your face, it knows your credit card, you can order takeout to arrive at your house before you leave your car.
Yeah. So we're working with companies to solving this now.
Yeah.
But I think we could have solved it a decade ago if we were involved from the get-go.
Once again, I blame Elon for everything. So, and my last question is, what do you think is the innovation that the world needs now?
I think what we see happening to the environment, sustainability is the biggest challenge of our time. So any innovations that can make it cheaper, faster to solve that is what the world needs to see. So as a company, we are committed to net zero emissions by 2040. I wish it could go even faster. So anything that can contribute to solving our climate changes is what we need.
Fantastic. Magnus, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
I think LinkedIn is a great platform to connect. And of course, if you're if you're based in the Nordics, I'm more than happy to grab a coffee or anything to
Or some salty licorice.
Or some salty licorice. That's right. That's right.
Thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so
pleasure.
Tune into the Innovation Storyteller Show with our special podcast, Pocket Series Nordic Visionaries, to learn all the coolest people and what they're doing here in the Nordics.
I truly hope you enjoyed today's conversation. If you did, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you never miss the next story that could inspire your own. And if you want to learn more about me or how I can help you and your team to become master storytellers to get your big idea to its finish line, head over to innovationstorytellers.com and schedule a call with me.